The Minnesota House passed a tax bill. The state Senate is next, with a vote possible on Monday. The bill passed by the DFL-controlled House aims to provide $3 billion in tax relief through a mixture of tax credits, reductions, and rebate checks. DFLers call it the largest tax cut in Minnesota history. The bill includes creating a new fifth tax tier that increases taxes on the state's wealthiest Minnesotans. Republicans say the bill increases taxes by more than $2 billion. Republican Representative Kristen Robbins of Maple Grove calls it disappointing. She also says a promise to fully repeal a tax on Social Security was not kept.
That was a bipartisan campaign promise. All of us, when we were campaigning in our districts, everyone heard that from the doors, and DFLers and Republicans made that promise, and it is not being kept.
A subtraction of Social Security taxes under the House DFL bill applies to about 76% of Minnesotans. House Speaker Melissa Hortman of Brooklyn Park says much of the state's $17 billion surplus is one-time money, and continued investment is needed in priorities such as health care and education. Efforts to legalize recreational marijuana faces the toughest test yet on Friday. The Minnesota Senate, with Democrats in control by a razor-thin margin, expects to vote on its version of the bill. The House approved a version of the bill earlier this week. Senate Republicans spoke against the proposal at a press conference, calling it convoluted and premature. They said it strips power away from local governments and creates new issues with addiction and law enforcement.
So I think Nancy Pelosi had that quote a few years ago, we're going to pass this bill and then figure out what's in it. So what we keep hearing is over the next 18 months, there's going to be rulemaking involved to try to figure out how they're going to fix the mistakes that are in the bill and how to make it workable. And we've heard that over and over again over the last, almost session here.
Meanwhile, Democrats here in the northwest suburbs have indicated support for legalization. The 18-year-old who died in a Brooklyn Center shooting on Sunday night has been identified. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner says Trevon Bowman from Brooklyn Park died from multiple gunshot wounds. The shooting happened in the 7200 block of Unity Avenue. Police found Bowman lying in the street. He later died at the hospital. Police are continuing to investigate what happened, and at this point, no one has been arrested. The city of New Hope swore in its two newest police officers this week. Sabrina DeMars and Jared Gray finished their one-year probationary period with the police department this March. Despite regional officer shortages, the department now has 33 of its 34 officer positions filled. The police chief told CCX News that recruitment for the last open position will begin soon. Lovers of fried fish have been making their way to Brooklyn Park this week, all in support of a good cause. This is the 60th year of the Brooklyn Park Lions annual Smelt Fry. More than 1,000 people come out to the Community Activity Center for the three-day event. The Lions import roughly 1,400 pounds of smelt from Canada to put on this annual feast that brings the community together.
Every penny that comes into this event, every penny goes back out primarily into our neighborhoods, and it funds eyeglasses, hearing aids, and local programs and local other groups that request funds from us.
The Lions spent about $12,000 to put on the event, but they hope to raise double that amount to help their various causes. More local talent is on display on stage at Front Porch Musical Theater's production of Fiddler on the Roof Jr. As Rusty Ray shows us in Weekend Showcase, everyone involved is thankful for the bond they've formed on stage to tell such a powerful story.
But that's all settled now. Now we live in peace and harmony.
Micah Zemke has found his place on stage at Elk River High School.
So I've done soccer, I've done baseball, I've done football. But the friends and the connections you make here and the family that it is, that's a word that's used a lot for a lot of communities, but I feel like here everybody just cares about each other so much and is genuinely just here for each other.
A fiddler on the roof. Sounds crazy, no?
As the lead in this weekend's Front Porch Musical Theater production of Fiddler on the Roof Jr., Zemke's Tevye is at the center of a story about family and, yes, tradition.
He's such a real person, and in a lot of ways that makes him the most complicated character I've ever played, because it's really easy to play a villain persona. I'm a villain. I'm bad. To portray a real guy who's feeling all these very human emotions, it's something so deep and so cool that I've really, really enjoyed digging my teeth into.
His co-star, Emma Dorn, plays Tevia's oldest daughter.
Sometimes there are certain circumstances that cannot be solved by things that have always been followed. Tradition is mainly the message in Fiddler. And sometimes it just, love wins.
Big themes played with skill by these young actors.
We try in every show that we do to have all of our student actors on stage as much as it possibly makes sense. And we work with our ensemble actors just as much as we do the lead characters.
We don't bother them, and so far they don't bother us.
All together to bring the timeless story to life.
Because at the end of the day, it's a very real story, very real people, and really, really sad and terrible things. So I hope that they come away feeling like we represented that well.
In Elk River, Rusty Ray, CCX News.
Tickets are still on sale for this weekend's final shows in Elk River. The next production for Front Porch is Disney's Lion King Jr. The weather today definitely felt like spring, but for some in Robbinsdale, it felt like late summer. State Fair food trucks are set up again this weekend at Hy-Vee in Robbinsdale. They offer winter-weary souls a small handful of State Fair favorites.
It's tasty, makes you feel good, and it just brings you back to the old times, the fair.
Always cheese curds and mini donuts, always that, but I try some new stuff, you know? Try to experience something new, right?
The State Fair food vendors will be there until Sunday.
The Maple Grove softball team scored big wins earlier this week over Centennial and Champlain Park. The Crimson look to take down another Northwest Suburban Conference opponent Thursday.
Maple Grove looking to stay unbeaten in conference games as they hosted Blaine. Maddie Wilm was one of the best prep pitchers around, and she was on for this game. She got a strikeout to end the Blaine second inning. 5 Ks for her already at this point, with many more to come. Scoreless in the bottom of the third when Alyssa Werns grounds a ball to deep short. A good stop by the Bengals shortstop, but Werns beats it out for an infield single. Ruby Goette scores, and it's 1-0 Maple Grove. Wilm would nurse that 1-run lead. Maddie Bryant swings and misses to end the Blaine fifth. The strikeout total now up to 12. Bottom 6, and Maple Grove adds an insurance run. Izzy Vitens hits a sharp single to left field. Jordan Brewston comes in to score, and it's 2-0 Maple Grove through 6. The Bengals threaten in the top of the 7th, getting the tying run on base, but the Crimson record the final out of the game on a second-to-first ground out. Wilm strikes out 17 in the game. Maple Grove wins 2-0. They are now 7-1 overall and 6-0 in the Northwest Suburban Conference.
In girls lacrosse, Benilde-St. Margaret's placed third in the state tournament last season. The Red Knights are rolling this year, too. They faced crosstown rival St. Louis Park Thursday.
The Red Knights head home Thursday to take on crosstown rival St. Louis Park. BSM's Charlize Vang with a couple of fakes, and then she spins inside the defender, shoots and scores. Benilde is on the board just 36 seconds into the game. Julia Evans passes to June Vang, who makes a run to the net and fires a shot into the Orioles net. It's 2-0 Red Knights. Later in the first half, Maggie Graysick fakes a pass, dodges a defender, and she'll rip a shot in for a goal. 1 of 5 in the game for her. Evans picks up a ground ball and makes a run before passing to Charlize Vang, who bounces a shot in for another BSM goal. She nets a hat trick on the night. As does Evans, who goes low with her shot here to score. Benilde leads 11-2 at halftime on the way to a 16-3 win over Park. The Red Knights are now 5-0 on the season and play at Chaska on Tuesday.
The Wayzata girls lost in overtime to Benilde in the Section 5 final a season ago. Jay Wilcox has highlights from the Trojans' win this week.
It's unbeaten Wayzata hosting Breck in girls lacrosse. Katie Sikorsky gets in close to the net and bounces the shot home for a 1-0 Wayzata lead just over 5 minutes in. Off a restart, Kate Schwaller gets it to Ainsley Owens, and she scores as the Trojans start to really dominate. Great timing here. Sikorsky to Evie Marks. Back to Sikorsky for a 3-0 lead. Risa Baumgartner makes a couple of spins to free herself from the defender and scores to make it 4-0 Trojans. Sikorsky turns the corner to beat the defender as she scores her 5th goal of the first half to make it 9-2. Baumgartner takes the pass in traffic and buries her 3rd of the half. It's all Trojans as they lead 10-2 at halftime. Second half, and Shyla Sanders catches the goalie off guard to get the steal. She nets her 2nd straight goal to begin the second half, and it's a 12-2 Wayzata lead. Petra Lyon takes the pass to score her 3rd straight and 5th of the night for Breck as they pull within 13-5. But it's Wayzata's night. Schwaller with a stop-and-go move scores as Wayzata improves to 5-0 with a 17-5 win. Jay Wilcox, CCX Sports.
When I never graduated from high school, I realized I wanted to go back to school because I didn't want to work these back-breaking jobs the rest of my life. With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed to come back to school. I felt accomplished, made me feel that I could take on whatever challenges life throws at you.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.